All right, big problem for the San Francisco 49ers coming off of that Thursday night game when Jimmy Garoppolo threw a couple of ugly interceptions and Kyle Shanahan kind of defended him, kind of didn't. You know, it's a shame. Week 16, the three best games were played on Thursday and Saturday, and the rest of the games weren't very good. But the Thursday night game between the 49ers and the Titans was a great game, and it may be the last time we see Jimmy Garoppolo for a bit. Jimmy Garoppolo has a chipped bone and a torn ligament in his thumb, according to Shefty, and also NFL Media has chimed in on that as well. So there's an issue. And in the second quarter of that loss to the Titans on Thursday, there's a video of him holding his finger as he walked back to the sideline. Let's check it out. There's Jimmy Garoppolo with the old throwbacks, the white on white. I like that. Gets thrown down. I was surprised that wasn't a roughing. We're so used to seeing roughing the passer for anything that's mildly aggressive. I'm surprised it wasn't, and there he is checking out the thumb. To his credit, he kept going, but he had a couple of interceptions. Now, one came before that.
Yeah, that's right.
Another one came after that, and it's Trey Lance time if Jimmy Garoppolo can't play. And there have been plenty of 49ers fans wishing and hoping and praying that they could see what Trey Lance has. And I think the fact we haven't seen him extensively so far this year may be an indictment on the decision to take him instead of the other quarterbacks they could have had after they moved up to number 3. We'll find out. We'll find out if he's ready. Kyle Shanahan was saying yesterday how he's looked great. He's had the consistency in practice. He's been around, and Lance is ready to go, and we'll find out. They've got to keep it going. It helped them last night that the Saints lost, but they still have to keep winning if they want to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that's right. They did get a little gift last night, certainly with the Dolphins winning and helping them out there to where you'd think they'd have to really screw it up here not to make the playoffs. I'd be interested, like, with the Jimmy Garoppolo situation. Yeah, I mean, a chip bone, you can maybe play with torn ligament. I don't know. And the thumb, that's got to be tough. I mean, again, the thumb is a pretty important finger there as far as gripping the football and controlling the football. Again, maybe if it's the right ligament, maybe you still can apply pressure and throw the ball effectively enough. Like you said, I mean, again, I know he threw an interception after the torn ligament and thumb injury, there in the third quarter that set up the easy touchdown for the Titans, but made some other good throws too. So I think today it'd probably be the day or tomorrow where we get a gauge of like, wait, if he threw at practice, all right, then I'm hopeful that he could play on Sunday. That was the first interception we saw. Thumb was fine. Here's a miss to use check. But again, at that point there, he's healthy. So you can't really tell. Now, that's a wobbler down the middle, and that is after the injury. And that was a bad decision and throw and everything. But yeah, I think, Mike, today and tomorrow will be the day where I look to go, wait, did we get a report that he was out there at least throwing in pre-practice and doing some stuff? If we don't get anything, I'm going to be thinking we are going to see Trey Lance for sure this weekend.
Got the Houston Texans coming to town on Sunday and then a trip to L.A. to take on the Rams, a team that Kyle Shanahan has owned over the years. So winning the next two games is a real possibility, but the automatic check of the box for the Texans, we found out. Yeah. They're the team that couldn't tank straight. They have plenty of reasons to be losing these leads. Because I don't know how. I understand the argument. You're developing Davis Mills. You're developing other young players. I don't know how much carryover there really is because teams are so dramatically different from one year to the next, and I suspect there's going to be a lot of changes. So whatever progress is made in late December and early January this year, I don't know how much of it is going to lay the foundation for next year for the Houston Texans. We've discussed in the past how beneficial it is to have a high spot, not just in round 1, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It carries into the rest of the rounds of the draft. So they have won some games here down the stretch that we didn't expect them to win, and now they could give the 49ers everything they can handle. And especially if it's Trey Lance, and especially if he struggles, maybe the 49ers find themselves in a fight. But either way, they are very much alive in San Francisco, and they are very much a team that the other franchises in the playoffs don't want in. You don't want the 49ers. No. They are the Colts of the NFC. They are the team that the established powers are not going to want to see.
No, 100%. I know we were talking about that last week a few times. That would be the team still. Again, I know. Again, we saw. Yeah, they lost the game the other night against the Tennessee Titans. You know, I think we could sit there in some ways and go, and they kind of blew the game against the Tennessee Titans. You know, I don't think it's like crazy to go. In a lot of ways, they kind of outplayed them and just messed it up. But it shows you just how dangerous they are. You see the potential for their capabilities, like we saw early on in the football game, where they can go up and down the field and dominate and be on the doorstep of going up 17-0. But we also saw the issue with the 49ers. I mean, the one thing is when the run game doesn't, continue to dominate, and if Shanahan doesn't have, a ton of tricks up his sleeves on a given week, Jimmy Garoppolo having to carry the team it's 50-50, like we saw a few weeks ago in Seattle. Seahawks had a good plan to slow down the run game of the 49ers. There was no Deebo Samuel that day. Oh, we got to rely on Jimmy. Yeah, there were some good throws, but there was 2 or 3 throws that are just dumb as hell. There's no other way to say it, and that's why they lose the game. And they lost the game last week because of Jimmy G, period. I mean, I'm mad at him. Ruined my damn friend's Christmas weekend. Guy could have had a nice weekend, enjoyed Christmas Eve and Christmas with the family. Instead, they lost the damn game, and my friend probably was pulling his hair out all weekend. So, yeah, we'll see. But, back to Trey Lance, too, Mike. I'm sorry I was rambling there. It's just like it is going to be interesting.
So the solution to that is to keep rambling.
Well, I was just going to say, because I wanted to get back on point. I just was kind of ranting. Right. But,
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know you are. You're a natural jerk. We know that. But, Trey Lance thing it is interesting, Mike. You brought it up. You traded 3 picks for a guy. He hasn't played. He played a little bit. It was always like, whoa, that was crazy and raw. Let's stash him away and not anybody see him again for a while. So let's see what kind of improvements he has made if he does get a chance to play. Certainly, and see what Shanahan can do around him. That could be fun to watch if he does get that opportunity this weekend.
Lost in the fact that Deebo Samuel was so awesome on Thursday night. He had 32 yards rushing on 5 carries, 159 receiving yards on 9 catches. They didn't get the ball to the other guy who makes the offense go in George Kittle. He was targeted 3 times on the night, 2 catches for 21 yards. So the Titans were able to neutralize him, not Samuel. You take one of those guys away, and maybe that's the formula. You have to deal with one of them. You take one of them away and let the other guy do his thing, and maybe you can count on some sort of mistake at some point in the game from Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
And I look, Kyle worked very hard at his post-game press conference to not blame Jimmy Garoppolo, and it really is kind of a strange dynamic there. And I feel like he needs an intervention. I feel like, let me try to play amateur psychologist here. I feel like he's got some sort of a deep-seated fear that if he gives up on Jimmy Garoppolo, he's going to go somewhere else and become better than he's ever been in his career. And that's just going to make this quarterback misadventure that they've been on for the past 5 years even worse, because they said no thanks to Patrick Mahomes. They said no thanks to Tom Brady. They stuck with Jimmy G. They gave up 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick to get Trey Lance. I just feel like he doesn't want to let go of Jimmy Garoppolo because of that possibility that Garoppolo goes elsewhere. And I don't know where elsewhere would be at this point because the Patriots have Mac Jones.
Yeah.
But just this fear he lands up somewhere else. Let's say Josh McDaniels becomes a head coach somewhere, and McDaniels ends up with Garoppolo, and Garoppolo ends up being better than he's ever been in his life. Then you look worse for giving up on the guy prematurely. I don't get it. I don't get it, because the outside objective observer looks at it and says, you can do better, and this guy's holding back what could be a very special team. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think a lot of people would agree with it. 49ers fans get upset because they're living in the middle of it, and they're stuck with it.
Right.
But on the outside, you look at it and say, there's a weak link here that is holding back this 49ers chain.
100%. 100%. I mean, it's always Shanahan having to manufacture brilliant ways to kind of make him look good. I don't disagree with you there at all. Yes, can he run run an offense and do some things where you go, oh, okay, that's good. Yes. I mean, he's played, he's seen the field and been on the field a lot to understand what defenses are doing. But yeah, there's a limit to what you can expect from him. And and that's where, you look at the top 10, top 15-ish quarterbacks where you go, okay, wait, the run game's not working today. No big deal. Okay, our quarterback's still pretty damn good. We can rely on him to make throws and carry us through the day here. It's few and far between when it comes to Garoppolo that way. You can kind of trust that, hey, he'll make some plays and do some things. I just hope he doesn't really do one of those Jimmy G bonehead dumb stuffs. That's what I hope. And that's kind of the way they've been living. And, we've seen it to where every now and then when that dumb stuff comes up, you always bring it up. You go back to that Vikings playoff game, and it's like, oh, crap. He's throwing the ball down the middle into a mosh pit of people. Let's start handing it off. And having to deal with that is not easy. Certainly not. Mike, I don't know if it's the fear of that or like what you're talking about, the fear of him going somewhere else being successful. Or sometimes I get the sense of like, Lance isn't totally 100% ready. He is raw still. He doesn't want to throw him out there and have him not look good, and then people go, what the hell did you do trading 3 first-rounders for it? But I also get the sense that, like, there's a real backing and liking of Jimmy G in the locker room that I think probably scares Shanahan to a degree. I don't know that. I got no inside info on that. But that's just reading between the lines how I feel a little bit.
Well, we know George Kittle's been a very loud
right
and an obvious proponent of Jimmy Garoppolo. That may be part of it. Part of it also may be, we know that Kyle Shanahan wants quarterbacks who run the offense exactly the way he wants it to be run. You could argue Jimmy G does that. It's just sometimes he makes some bad throws.
That's right.
He makes the right reads. He does everything he's supposed to do up until the point where the time comes to consistently deliver the ball accurately. That's where the flaw kicks in, and I think Kyle thinks through time that will eventually iron itself out. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why this relationship continues nearly a year past the point where we assumed it was going to end when they made that big move from number 12 to number 3 in the draft to get their next quarterback, who, again, we may see on the field extensively this week if Kyle Shanahan isn't able to get Jimmy Garoppolo ready to go. By the way, you talked about how Kyle wanted to tear his hair out over Christmas weekend. The misadventures of John Lynch at Christmas Eve Mass probably didn't help. This was like this bizarre little, you're hanging out with your family on Christmas Eve, and I was checking my phone more than I should. Apparently John Lynch was too, because he was at church. He accidentally and unknowingly liked a tweet. This is the tweet that came out of nowhere. There was no context. There was no backstory. Just apparently, while at Christmas Eve Mass with my family, I accidentally and unknowingly liked a tweet. Never intended to and remain a huge believer in Jimmy. Merry Christmas to everyone. Oh, Merry Christmas indeed. So the tweet that he liked, it was a guy looking through the window of a plane from the outside looking in, and the comment was something along the lines of, just leave Jimmy in Nashville. That's the tweet.
Not the one you want to like. Yeah. Right.
Accidentally and inadvertently liked while in Christmas Eve Mass. It is definitely not a Christmas Eve miracle. I don't know why your phone is in any position where you can be accidentally liking tweets in Mass. So the whole thing was a little bit bizarre. He was lucky it kind of happened on a quiet Friday night, and they didn't play this weekend because they had played Thursday night, so it blew over. But that was just kind of a weird little twist to everything that's been going on with the 49ers and Jimmy G. And again, through it all, they're capable of being extremely dangerous. They looked like a potential Super Bowl team, and when they were bullying the Titans around in the first half, I thought, man, boy, I got this one wrong. The 49ers are ready to make their move.
4-letter words, Titans, 4-letter words, Titans, 4-letter words, Titans. And then there you were. I'm sitting there at the end of the game going, oh, my gosh, look at this crap. They're going to win the damn football game, and Florio's going to get the victory. Damn you, Florio, damn you.
I tweeted at one point during the game in my frustration because I picked the Titans to win, and they looked so bad. I tweeted, are the Titans frauds? Discuss. So, of course, when they won the game, I get all the indignant Titans fans and members of the media. It's amazing to me how members of the media group that cover a given team, and I'm not picking on the Titans here, it's a dynamic throughout the league. Like, people who are supposed to be somewhat objective act like they're fans, act like like they work for the team now, and they get indignant and they get upset when you criticize the team they cover. It's like, you don't work for the team. You've just been assigned to cover that team by your paper. You're still supposed to be a little objective objective. So back off a little bit, okay, please. But it was aggressive. Thankfully, it was Christmas, and that died down pretty fast. But I wanted the Titans to win. I was upset. I was as upset as a Titans fan would be.
Yeah.
They were getting outclassed. I was stunned that they came back and tied that game, and even more stunned that they won it.
Yeah, well, again, I think that's where it goes back to the Jimmy G thing. And again, that's where they need Kittle and Deebo Samuel to be both hitting on all cylinders, and Shanahan's got to find ways to get them the ball even more and be healthy at the running back position, because it's iffy with Jimmy G, period. You just don't know. Again, there they are, like you said, they're on the doorstep of blowing the game out here. Well, we're going to go up 17-0. And you throw an interception to clearly a covered George Kittle. And then, of course, the interception of the third quarter that jump-started the Titans' offense. They were huge mistakes. They definitely were. I mean, Mike, I was sitting there, for like points bet, right? I'm going, oh, man, I'm picking the 49ers to win, and I thought it was going to be a Kittle night. And the night started, and Deebo Samuel could have went on fire, and I was like, oh, no, it's going to be a Deebo night. The Titans have taken away Kittle. They're not going to be able to take away Deebo, and this is going to be an issue. And, of course, it wasn't good for me all around, let alone losing the damn game to you that way. But that is the big question mark with them. There's no team in the NFC with the 49ers where they're going to get on the field and they're going to be like, we're going to look at it or talk about it in a matchup and go, well, we're really worried that they physically won't be able to match up. They're going to be able to physically up front match up with anybody. We know Shanahan and the XOs are going to match up with anybody. It's just, is there going to be that team that, yes, like you said, takes away a Kittle or slows down the run game to where now, hey, Jimmy, these last 3 quarters, you're going to have to play good football, and you can't turn it over and cost us the game. That's still, we've been talking about this for 3 years straight. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's still the same conversation around Garoppolo.
And look, all that said, they're in the 6th seed right now.
Yep.
And if they take care of business the next couple of weeks, they will be fine. And we see what they do to the Rams. We don't know what the Rams are going to be playing for in Week 18.
Yeah,
that's the other weird wrinkle to all this. We don't know how many teams are going to have their position set in stone when the dust settles on Week 17, to the extent that they can treat Week 18 as a de facto bye, but maybe the 49ers get lucky that way as well. First order of business, though, take care of the Texans. Presumably they can, but we presume the Chargers could as well. So who knows what these Texans are capable of doing.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.